Back, we continue to get reaction on the passing of Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela. We're joined now on the line once again by Denis Goldberg, struggle stalwart. Mr. Goldberg, thanks so much for staying on the line with us. We were cut off a little earlier. You were paying your respects to the family.
Because those of us who were in the struggle at that time when she was, we know the price that we pay and the family pays for the torture, for the absences, for the sheer emotional pressure. And my sister paid the price of freedom, and so did her children. It doesn't come easy. It comes through struggle. It comes through sacrifice. And she epitomized courage and determination that I always admired, even when she made mistakes. And she made mistakes, but she seemed to step back and reflect and come back again into the struggle, always there. And this is what I admired about her. Not that she was flawless, no leader is, but to be able to deal with the mistakes and maintain her determination that helped lead us to freedom. She's not the only woman, you know. There was Martha Zulu, there was Adelaide Tambo, there were so many comrades, men and women, but she is one of the great ones, and because of the name Mandela, of course, and her beauty, there's no question, all of these things made her into the iconic, young, black and beautiful, courageous, tough, and broke the mold of the role of women. She was upfront, brash, there, always there, and for that I admired her, always. And I think we've suffered a great loss. But you know, at nearly 85 years old myself, I know that life comes to an end. And what's important in life is not just that one was born and that one died at the end. It's what one did in the middle. And she certainly did so much that I take my hat off to her and I doff my hat to her and to the family and to our country for producing such an outstanding, heroic person.
Mr. Goldberg, you know, a lot of people describe Mama Winnie as fearless, and when we look at some of those old videos of her confronting the apartheid police head-on on so many occasions, she certainly looked fearless, but it can't have been easy for her, having children, being a woman, and still trying to operate in such an incredibly difficult apartheid environment.
That's precisely the point I'm trying to make, to confront those brutal people. It doesn't mean one always got it right. It doesn't mean one always succeeded. You know the story of having to get up and get back on the bicycle when you've fallen over. And she made mistakes, there's no question. But in the midst of a war, and we were in a war, our people were in a war, against a brutal totalitarian machine. And those videos that you talk about, those moments when she confronted them, especially after Brandfort and her return to Soweto, backed by the international community and diplomats and what have you, she really showed her mettle and her courage. Very few people could emulate that, but there were other brave people as well. And it's been part of a mass movement that marks her out, just the same with Madiba, or Tata Sisulu, or Oliver Tambo, men and women who we were involved together. And in the end, it was the mass of our people who brought the freedom. You know, it's no good being a leader if you don't have people following you. And it was this ability to inspire, make mistakes, do well, charming, beautiful, charismatic, and people follow. If you're talking the right policies. If you're not talking the right policies, they ignore you. She got it right most of the time, and respect is due for that, for a life well spent bringing about our liberation.
Mr. Goldberg, as someone who has such an intimate knowledge of having spent so many years yourself in prison, talk to us about the solitary confinement that Mama Winnie endured. 491 days in total, 200 successive days of solitary confinement.
But you know, it wasn't just the solitary confinement. One can bear the loneliness in a way, but it was a continual attempt to humiliate, to destroy her. They did it with all of us. They tried. And one loathes oneself for allowing them to breach one's defenses sometimes. And that loathing stays with oneself forever. And I know I delivered a paper on torture at a German university 40 years after the event, and I talked about it often. And suddenly I broke down. It lies in the back of your head how she found the ability sometimes to smile, sometimes to be cheerful, but always to be there. And in the muddy days of the 1980s, when people were being beaten and the townships were occupied by the police and the military, she was there down in the mud with people, really fighting back, giving courage. These are qualities that are so rare, and you can hear from my voice what I feel about her, of a sense of being charmed by her. I didn't know her well. I'm from Cape Town. She's from Joburg. Oliver Tambo was recovering from his stroke in Sweden, and she arrived with Madiba, and really it was quite remarkable to see the way in which she simply looked at me and smiled and said, "How wonderful to see you again after all these years," or words to that effect. And I was bowled over by the sheer magnetism of this personality. I have to say, where that strength comes from, I'm damned if I know, but I admire it and respect it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us this morning, sir. That was struggle stalwart Denis Goldberg joining us on the line from his home in Cape Town.